Good morning, welcome to this first edition of the Saturday morning in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which is the SOMOS conference of 2014. We're sitting here saying buenos dias to Melissa Mark-Viverito in her capacity not only as the District Council 8 City Council member representing that district, but also as Speaker of the City of New York, and also as a Puerto Riqueña who knows the conditions of El Caño Martín Peña. That's where you're headed now. You're dressed in the proper attire, minus your boots that you're gonna need. Why is this, the mayor of San Juan, and here at City and State we had an interview with her, at City and State TV when we came down doing the road to SOMOS. What is so keen or unique about the fact that she focused on this? She didn't need to. Other mayors have ignored this, they've hidden it, and it's become the massive problem we have. From your perspective, what's so important? What do people need to get? What are you hoping to convey with the attention that you bring in with the New York media?
This is what we're doing. We want to bring attention. We want to raise awareness. We want to educate not only my colleagues, but obviously the press as well that's going to come, and just start raising that level of awareness, to start being part of a campaign to let people know that El Caño Martín Peña is an environmental injustice which exists right within the borders of the United States, right? For all intents and purposes, Puerto Rico is part of the United States.
Correct.
But what is happening there is unbelievable. Yesterday here in Puerto Rico it was raining very, very hard. The issue with El Caño is that because it's not dredged, basically it's stagnant. The water doesn't flow in that canal. When it rains very heavily, the waters rise and people are living in flooded conditions. 20,000 people live on either side of that canal and live in really deplorable conditions when the waters rise. I went out there yesterday. The mayor wanted to personally take me and show me. We had to really get prepared and have what they call the frog suit, because those waters are contaminated waters, and literally the waters were several feet high in certain parts, and you can't be in that in that environment. People are living in that environment. So this is really critical. I've come to really understand the issue, and I want to add my voice to it. I wanted my colleagues, and we have a great number that are coming today, to really see it for themselves, talk to some of the community leaders. But to have people living in those conditions is unacceptable. And the demand and the call is that el gobierno de Puerto Rico, the government of Puerto Rico, receive federal funds so that the Army Corps of Engineers can dredge the canal, at least have the water flow, to try to limit those inundations, and then also start working on giving a proper sewer system and connecting people properly to the sewer system, things that are not happening right now. So it's really critical that we lend our voice to this issue.
We're streaming live at City and State TV from San Juan, Puerto Rico. You're listening to Melissa Mark-Viverito. I don't know if the mayor, and I'm talking about Carmen Yulín Cruz, knew exactly. She does know who you are. She knows, and I'm talking about the full Melissa. The Melissa that also has a keen sense. As an activist, you handle an issue which is also about, in part, environmental justice, besides the excesses and abuses of the United States Army and the United States Navy and the armed forces of the United States. The island of Vieques, the bombing that went on there, the contamination it created, how does that help you now because you were instrumental in part of the people in the diaspora, in New York, Chicago, in Philadelphia, Connecticut, everywhere that you connected with that message. How are you going to use that, Melissa the activist, what you needed to do to organize the picketing you did, the protesting you did? How do you take that? I mean, you already have the channels, you know the people who call. I imagine that you're taking this on no a medias, it's a full. So you're gonna, please, because Vieques was a training ground for you.
Right, it was, and I think that's what it is I'm approaching it as an activist, right? Part of it is raising awareness, educating, making sure people know and have the information correctly, and then starting to galvanize different sectors to unite and lend their voice. I just came from the labor breakfast, right? The labor movement has been the heart of the progressive movement historically in this country. It also historically has helped advance social justice causes, environmental causes. They were critical in part of the movement to get the Navy out of Vieques as well. So also to figure out how do we galvanize them around this issue of El Caño Martín Peña, which is the next challenge. De Vieques no ha terminado, and the stuff about Vieques hasn't finished because there's still decontamination that has to happen, and there's a lot of additional federal support that is needed there too. But now we have this issue, which I think is really important for people. So I'm using that experience critically, and the way we build a solidarity movement around the Vieques issue, we need to build a solidarity movement around the Caño Martín Peña and the 27,000 people that are living, these families, children, that are living with highly contaminated levels of bacteria, the flooding that happens, the mold it creates. It's just really a serious situation.
It's going to be interesting, and as we speak to Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito, become an activist again, it's glad to see you this way because I think that you excelled at that. But having now the knowledge of how government works, how you need to push it, having the experience of Vieques, what do you expect from SOMOS, an elected official of top ranking within our community, within the power structure of the political giant that is New York State? Now from this vantage point, what are you hoping that comes out of this conference? We know for too many years, those of us that have been critical, sometimes supportive, sometimes not from the outside, that there's a lot of talk, a lot of partying, but there isn't enough substance.
Right.
Are you pushing for something that comes out here, or is it premature to push for a resolution or something that comes out of this body?
I think that's probably not the direction, but what I am seeing, because I've been coming the last couple of years, I think that they're understanding the power of how this conference here in Puerto Rico, how you build the bridge, right? I think I'm seeing more connections in the workshops between sharing experiences between what's happening in New York and what's happening in Puerto Rico, and I think that's what I like to see about it, that there's ways that we can connect our struggles, that we can learn from each other. The conversation this morning in the labor breakfast is having the Puerto Rico Solidarity, the Puerto Rico labor movement talk about their experience organizing here, and then the New York labor movement talking about their, like building that conversation. We have a workshop later today talking about LGBT rights, right? How the successes in New York and how we can be supportive of trying to advance marriage equality here in Puerto Rico. So we're starting to see how we make the bridge and the connections. I think that's the way that this conference can be very effective, and I'm seeing that happen in ways that I hadn't in other years.
So well, that's something that you actually wrote for us in the Road to SOMOS series, in which you actually went head on in what happened in Puerto Rico in a very, I don't know, it was like cave conditions, like in going back to the Stone Ages and not dealing with the right of people to be equal in terms of who they fall in love or don't, and having that ability to engage in marriage if they want to, and bringing it here. We're a conservative nation island. That's the reality. So it's a big push. It's a different push. Tiene que haber cierto grado de respeto, and I think which was had in the States also. But so you were able to write about that. You're following through in City and State TV. You can actually, those of you listening right now or viewing us and streaming live, you can actually go to the piece, which is, it wasn't con regodeo. She went straight to the point, as always Melissa does. And now, is that being received? Is it receptive? Because then you have to take it from here into the broader community of what Puerto Rico is and the mindsetting that is there.
Right. No, I think, look, we can be effective, and I think the gay rights movement here in Puerto Rico is strong. It's organized, and I think they need to also hear that they're not alone, right? That they're going to get support, and that they have the support from those of us that live in the diaspora, from those of us that want to advance human rights and civil rights for everyone. So I think that I'm not, because I think from the angle of being Puerto Riqueña, born and raised here, and I still have connections, that I can take certain liberties of being a little bit more vocal and forceful in my positions, and I know others want to be respectful, but I want to see some things done, and I want to figure out ways that I can use my level of influence to raise awareness and to advance certain causes. The Caño is one thing, the gay rights issue is another. There's a lot of areas where we can do that.
Environmental justice, the things that happen in the Bronx and Brooklyn, there are activists that we have, so you already have that experience. What's the takeaway? I forgot to ask you. I'm sorry. I came up with an idea that we wrote about. We saw the Women's Equality Party being, I'll say it, you don't have to say it, being used by our governor and the president of the New York State Democratic Party for his benefit to get even with the Working Families Party. You've already taken a position, and you said you asked people to vote because you're a good Democrat, but you're no fool. I'll say that. She's not saying it. And it wound up that you asked people to vote for him on the Working Families Party line. Do you think that it will be necessary, and I just put this question out, Is it time for a Latinos Equality Party to be able to then address the various issues that are being ignored in spite of the fact that the efforts are that?
There's a lot of disappointment. I'm talking about Latinos, I think I'm sensing, right? Obviously, at the federal level, we haven't seen anything done on immigration. At the state level, the one main issue people were rallying around was the DREAM Act, and we didn't see that happen. So I think that there is a level of disappointment of Latinos feeling that their voice isn't being heard, right? And I'll add my voice to that. Sometimes I feel that way too, but it doesn't stop us from having to be even more forceful and more organized and more visible. But we have to figure out where the line in the sand is, because I know a lot of times we say, well, we have to hold people accountable, and sometimes how do we communicate that? How does that move forward? And so I don't know. I don't know about a party per se, but a way that we can galvanize and organize as Latinos and be much more forceful in getting our issues addressed, I think is something that we definitely do need to do.
Well, it's the party, not just New York State. I thought about it in New York State, but I'm getting feedback from people in other parts of the country. So obviously, the sentiment is that while they're good Democrats, and the majority of us Latinos are throughout the nation, and that's been proven election after election, there is also the sense that there's, from an outside, and they only let us speak to a certain point. Of course, you've broken down the doors and you step in, but you had a hard time even within your own party to be able to come and be seriously considered. And then eventually, it wasn't until the last moment on that January 8th that I'll never forget, in which you actually then had the vote. And
I'm getting flashbacks being in this conference, because last year there was a lot of conversations happening around this time, and it was, you're right. I mean, and that's the whole thing, is power is not going to be given, right? You have to you have to make sure if your moment, seize the moment and move forward. But we're always going to have still barriers put before us, and we got to be firm and not be dissuaded and not be intimidated, because that part of it is intimidation. Right?
At times it is.
Yes, and so we'll be good. But I'm going to be heading out to Caño.
I know you're going to go to Caño, and we'll get you back, and we'll talk some more about the victory, what it means, if it is a victory with regards to Governor Cuomo. But I want to get into a whole different thing. Hopefully, we'll have time before you get back. I'm dying to see your impressions. You already went there. Watch your colleagues react. City and State TV, I want to let you know that, and also in our print magazine and everything we do, we're going to continue to follow El Caño Martín Peña. Morgan Papa made a commitment to Mayor Carmen Yulín to be able to pursue this and keep it alive. So we're going to pursue this in terms of
and I appreciate, because you guys have been consistently supportive of the issue, and I think the meeting you had and the interview you did with the mayor, you felt the passion, right, about this. And she has demonstrated incredible leadership, like you said. It's an issue that I don't think has been tackled as aggressively as it has needed to, and she's demonstrating incredible leadership. Walking around with her in the communities yesterday was very, very eye-opening. She's very compassionate. She's extremely connected to the people she represents, and she feels this deeply in her core, and the way she was interacting with everybody, it came across. So she's going to make this, she's going to make progress on this issue, and I want to join her in that effort, and I want to lend my voice. So thank you for your support as well.
Melissa Mark-Viverito, the activist who's rushing out of here to be able to do that tour, that I think will be an eye-opener for many of you who still don't understand what it is, El Caño Martín Peña. For City and State TV, streaming live from El Condado Plaza, SOMOS 2014. We'll see you next.